Morning. Woo. Wow. If you're not awake now, you will never be. All right. Happy Father's Day. And I see some of you out there who've come to celebrate this day with your dad, and I am glad that you're here. And man, I just hope we have a great morning. There is, I'll just share with you personally, I don't think there is anything more joyful, challenging, and scary all at the same time than being a dad. I can remember both of the boys coming home from the hospital and thinking, I am not ready for this. I'm obviously not ready the first time, and the second time, don't really know that I was any more ready that time for all the responsibility and the things that comes with being a dad. But I found this thing that this is things that you will never hear a father say. So I don't know if these are true or not. You can test them out. Well, look at that. I'm lost. I guess we'll just have to stop and ask directions. Well, not. How about this one? Well, honey, you're 13 now, and you're ready for unchaperoned car dates. Won't that be fun? I don't know about that one because I only had boys, but I'm thinking not. Here's a credit card and the keys to my new car. Go have a great time. Your mother and I are going away for the weekend. You might want to think about throwing a party. Well, I don't know what's wrong with your car. It's probably one of them doohickey things that makes it run or something. Just tow it to the mechanic and pay whatever he charges. Now, actually, I would feel very comfortable with that one. So, I'm good with that one. What do you want to go get a job for? I make plenty of money for you to spend. That's probably not something you'd hear a dad say. But dads, sometimes I think on Father's Day, we just need to stop sometimes and say, Dads, we appreciate you. Because sometimes on Mother's Day, we talk about how great moms are, and then we get to Father's Day and we tell you what you're not doing right. So I just want you to know this morning, I just appreciate you for being here. And mom and dads are just different. Moms protect, and they make us feel better when we mess up, and they fix all of our scrapes and bruises, and dads just kind of challenge us to be something different. Dads are the ones who throw us up in the air, and mom says, not so high, and we're thinking, no, he can fly, he'll be okay. And we're the ones who kind of help you push the limits. We're the one who's running behind you, pushing the bicycle and turn loose, and you don't know we turn loose, and we're just thinking, I wonder how far he'll get before he crashes. But he's got a helmet. He's going to be fine. Oh, y'all didn't do the helmet? Well, we did a helmet. So, dads, they did have a helmet. I think mom insisted they had to have a helmet, but they had a helmet. Dads teach young men how to channel their masculinity and their strength. Dad teach young women how godly men, good men, treat women. And then I know there are some of you sitting out there this morning and you don't have your dad to celebrate with today. And there are some of you who are parents that don't have your children here to help you celebrate Father's Day. And for you, I just ask that you remember God is the eternal Father. And in those times, just praise be to God that He created us and formed within us the ability to trust Him and to live forever. I think of a passage from Psalms, a father of the fatherless and a judge for the widows is God in His holy habitation. God makes a home for the lonely. He leads out the prisoners into prosperity. Only rebellious dwell in a parched land. And there are some who sit here that just, honestly, you just haven't had good fathers. And I hope that you can find peace in knowing that God is the perfect Father. And He loves you and He cares for you and He wants to be your God. He wants to be your Father and allow you to be His Son. We dealt with you as a father deals with his own children, encouraging, comforting, and urging you to live lives worthy of God who calls you into His own kingdom and glory. Man, I love that expression on Clay's face. You know why I like that? There he's got his Bible. I mean, and you get that impression, at least this is me looking at that picture, and thank you, Eva, for taking this picture. I look at that picture and I think, boy, he's trying to understand, but he doesn't quite have it yet, does he? It's just kind of that inquisitive look. And how many of us go through life and we have that inquisitive look, and we need good fathers. If they're not physical fathers, at least spiritually, there are fathers who help lead us and guide us. And I love those words from Paul, because Paul is writing to a church. And he says, hey, this is how we dealt with you. And as we dealt with you, one thing that we did was we encouraged you. Now, encourage. Man, that's the first thing fathers can do. Fathers can encourage. Now, as we go through these, fathers, I'm not preaching at you. I'm telling you some things you can do to help your kids, all right? But mostly I'm talking to kids, okay? So here are some things that you can do for your father. So if we say, well, dads are really supposed to encourage us, then as a child, as a son or a daughter, you stop and say, you know what? I'm really supposed to encourage Dad. Now, I've been to some really cool sporting events through the years. But one of my favorite, and I've told you this before, and you just have to deal with this, all right? One of my favorite was the Boston Marathon. The one I went to that, very honestly, I wasn't really that excited about. The idea of going to Boston and standing on the side of a street, watching people run by when I don't care anything at all about running, didn't seem like it was going to be a really great time. I mean, I've been to a football game. That's pretty exciting, you know. And I'd been to a stock car race, and that's really exciting. And I've been to a baseball game, and a baseball game is not that exciting, but they have funnel cakes. So, I mean, you can have fun anywhere if you have a funnel cake. So you got all of these things going on, and I show up in Boston thinking, man, I don't really know what this is going to be like. And this is what I heard. Just listen. Yeah, woo! They stood on that street for hours, on top of hours. Woo! Go! You can do it! They got their name, written down their arm. Come on, Jim, run! We don't even know who Jim is, right? But he's got his name. We're just screaming out, come on, man, run, you can do it. And they would stop, and they would be sick. Oh, come on, man, you got this. Get going again, get running. And they're handing things out on the side of the road. People they don't even know. And they're just encouraging and encouraging and encouraging. And I was sitting there thinking, man, I could have run this marathon if it was going to yell at me. Well, not really, I couldn't, but right? Like I'd have gotten, like an eighth of a mile, I'd have been dead. But they were so encouraging. And I walked away from that marathon thinking, man, is that not just one of the coolest things you've ever heard? Just to hear people encourage other people to do well. And I know we're talking about fathers, but wouldn't that just be cool as a church? Man, maybe we ought to just line up, out in the parking lot and pick somebody every Sunday when they start leaving. Come on, man, you can do it. Woo, live for Jesus. Come on, brother. Just encourage one another. Because you know what? When you're hearing that kind of encouragement, you can do a lot of things. Do you think dads need encouraged? I mean, you think dad needs just somebody to say, hey, come on, you can do this. Things don't always go exactly the way dads think they ought to go. Oddly enough, kids don't always make the decisions we think they ought to make. I can't understand it. I mean, it looks like we could just write it down for them and do exactly what we say, but it doesn't work that way. We raise these young men and young women, and we teach them to be godly, and we teach them to be self-sufficient and how to make decisions, and lo and behold, they grow up and make a decision. And we're like, what are you doing? They worry about you. dads, I know moms worry a lot, but I think dads worry about their kids. We worry about the friends that you're making. We worry that you've got the right kind of people around you. We worry about conflict, the consequences of decisions. When we figure out we can't make everyone for you, like when you were little, we could tell you to do something and you would do it. It was really kind of cool. Go make up your bed. Dads are going in to make up their bed, because Dad said make up your bed, right? Go take a bath. You just get up and go take a bath because Dad said go take a bath. Eat all your vegetables. That didn't work out so often, but you get the idea. And then they grow up and they become self-sufficient, and all of a sudden they're making their own decisions, and we worry about what's going to happen to those and things that we just can't control. And we have to trust you. And that's kind of a leap of faith for us, that we trust you. You've always trusted us. We stand on the side of the pool and say, jump. You just jump in there like knowing that we're going to catch you because you trust us. And then that gets reversed, and all of a sudden we're having to trust you because you're growing up and you're making decisions. And then dads are just, sometimes we just kind of need some encouragement. How do you do that for your dad? How about making some time for him? I don't know what you do. Maybe you play video games a lot. How about just, hey, Dad, you want to sit down and play a video game? I mean, I'm just telling you from a dad's standpoint, that's not going to work because we just get destroyed. But it's okay. It's fun. Maybe you could compliment him. Say, hey, Dad, you're doing a good job. Maybe you could see him doing something and you could actually ask to help, Dads, can you encourage your kids? If you're a dad, do you remember what it was like to be a kid? Do you remember what it was like not to have all the answers? Do you remember what it was like to do something and you're thinking all the time, I don't know why I'm doing this, but this is probably not going to work out so well. Hey, watch this. Do you remember those kind of days? Dads, do you remember what it was like to get like a really encouraging word from your dad where your dad said, hey, good job, son, and you're like, man, that's so cool that Dad said good job, and maybe you need to be giving that. Maybe we need just to be lined up on the side of the road like they were at the Boston Marathon, just as fathers and sons and daughters saying, you can do this. Keep it up. Keep it up. Because we got those kids who are just kind of looking inquisitively at that book and are thinking, hey, man, life is tough, and how is it that I am supposed to live through this life? How am I supposed to be godly in an ungodly world? And we need to encourage and we need to console. Console. That word can mean to console, or it can mean to cheer up. Do you ever need cheered up? I'm going to tell y'all a secret, and you got to promise. I know we're live streaming, but you got to promise this won't get out of here, okay? Dads aren't perfect. We are prone to mess stuff up. Now, I don't want that to come as a huge surprise, okay? But we are not perfect. We do some stuff, and then we look at it and we think, why in the world did I do that? Or why did I say that? Or when you say to your kid, if you do this, this is going to happen, and then you wonder, why did I say that? Because now he's done it. Now look what I've got to do. Sometimes dads need cheered up. Not everything goes the way that we want. Sometimes our jobs don't go the way that we want. Sometimes we feel like we have to work too many hours to take care of you. Sometimes dads can get stressed. Sometimes they can just kind of, we don't really know what's going on. We know that we're dads and we want to protect you and we want to provide for you and we want to do the right things. And sometimes we honestly just stop and say, I'm really not sure what the right thing to do is. And we need consoled. We need cheered up. Do you ever notice, I just kind of notice, if your dad ever looks like he's kind of sad, cheer him up. Say, come on, Dad, you can do this. Give him a little encouragement. Find a little time to share with him. Dads, do you ever need to cheer up your kids? We have had a lot of great kids kind of grow up in this church while I've had the privilege of being here. And, this morning, I don't know if I was telling Sydney. I don't remember who it was. I was standing at the back, and I was talking to someone, and these two kids come up, and both of them give me hugs. It was Holly and Clay. They came up and gave me a hug, told me they went outside during Bible class, and that was really cool. And I stood up from that and said, that is one of the best parts of what I get to do. A lot of you have come up through the church and you get older and you won't hug me anymore. I understand that, okay? But it is so cool, sometimes that you just get that word of encouragement. And all of those kids who grew up in this church, I am still waiting to meet the first one that doesn't make a bad decision. It's kids. And dads, don't look at me like you never made a decision that wasn't the smartest decision in the world either. Because if you're a dad, chances are you made a decision somewhere that wasn't the smartest decision. Oh, if you ever just think what you need to do is just say, look, son, or look, daughter, I know that wasn't the smartest decision in the world. And again, I don't agree with the decision that you made, but you know what? I still love you. Still love you. Or you see your kid down. Maybe they had a bad test score. Maybe the one that they thought was the true love ended up not being the true love. Maybe they're struggling with where they fit in life. Maybe they didn't get something that they wanted. They need cheering up. Be the one to give your kid confidence. I love that I got this off the internet. Okay, I didn't make that, but I love that picture. How many times as a dad do you hear a kid say, I can't do that? But in your heart, they really can. Dad, I can't ride a bike without training wheels. Oh, yeah, you can. But somebody's got to push it out there and make it happen, right? Dad, I can't pass. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can do this. Be that one to console and cheer up and help them make that spot. Make that decision. There's some things that you can do. This is just kind of good practical advice. You tell them that you care. When somebody's in emotional pain, there's no right thing to say. When they're really hurting, there are no magic words that's going to make somebody feel better. Even if intellectually you're right, emotionally they're not prepared to hear that. All they need to know is that you care, that you're there. You don't have to give any kind of false cheerfulness. There's a time where it's time for a lighthearted joke or some kind of hopeful statement. And sometimes, honestly, we use those first because we don't know what else to say, and it's really not the time to use them. You don't have to say that everything's going to be better right now when they're distressed or in deep sorrow, and it's just anything that you say like that, sometimes it comes across as insincere. So you let them know that you care. You understand that they hurt. You're sensitive to the situation. Don't say things that come across as insensitive. You have to be careful in what you say and how you say it. If somebody's really in deep pain and deep hurt, don't make statements like it was God's will, or even if it's true, they're not really open to hearing that yet. You open the door for them to do the talking. They might not be ready to talk. Now, I don't know if all dads are like this. Like when I want to talk about what's bothering you, I want to talk about what's bothering you, right? I'm not really good about waiting around for you to talk to me. But sometimes we have to step back and give space and open the door for them to do the talking when they're ready. And then follow up. Man, how many times do we just not follow up? We just don't go back and say, hey, how did this go? What happened there? Just good practical advice to how we console and exhort one another and cheer one another up. And then it says, urging you. Urging you. So what does that mean exactly? It's to find something that's of great importance and you affirm or you insist or you implore them to do something. We urge them to live good lives. It's not like we just sit back and say, well, it's kind of whatever you want to do. No, this is, you let them know this is something that's really, really important. You help each other keep focus. I mean, we look around at our world. Is it easy for kids to lose focus? Absolutely. Is it just as easy for fathers and mothers and parents to lose focus? Absolutely. Is it sometimes easy for us to grab these things that we think that are the best for our kids, but really they're not? It's hard to identify distractions sometimes, isn't it? Those things that move us off course, or things that keep us from being as godly as we need to be, or that God calls us to be. And then we need each other to kind of help us understand distractions and those things that are destroying our spiritual walk. As parents, we're really good about talking to kids about removing negative influences from our lives. But as parents, are we as good about having our kids tell us how to remove negative influences from our life? But we need each other to hold ourselves accountable. We need each other to commit to the truth, to the decide that we're going to live for God in this world. We need each other to refine speech. We need each other to say, maybe you ought not to be listening to that, or maybe the lyrics of that song aren't something that you really want to pay attention to, or maybe you need to watch what you're listening to on a podcast, or maybe we need to have conversations about the truth that's being given to our kids and how to refine speech. Or we just rediscover or just discover thankfulness and what thankfulness looks like. I think it'd be cool if maybe today dads just look say, thank you for being my kid. Thanks for that. Or maybe a kid just look at a parent and say, hey, thanks for being my parent. I just think you're like a really cool dad, And then that word also can mean testify. What does God want you to testify in your life? Now, this doesn't matter if you're a kid or a child, all right? Doesn't matter if you're a teen or preschooler. Only be careful. And watch yourselves closely so that you do not forget the things your eyes have seen, or let them slip from your heart as long as you live. Teach them to your children and to their children after them. Teach them to your sons and your sons' sons. Teach them to all of those siblings who come along in your family. I know we have the Bible, but how will the next generation really know what God has done? We'll tell them. How will they know that God is real? Because they'll see it reflected in your life. Don't forget the things that your eyes have seen. Look at your life. What have your eyes seen God do? How can you pass those to your children? And it's not that we can pass them to our children. Can our children also pass those things to us? Pay attention to what God has done. Share that. Can you share what God has done? Just at some point say, let me tell you what God has done in my life. Let me tell you what God has done for me. Share that with each other. Because we will pass that from generation to generation. So here we are, we end up on Father's Day. Wow. Father's Day. And when I think of that, I think there is one perfect Father. There is one who loved you and loves you so much. He wants nothing more than the very best things of life for you. And I don't mean money and possessions. I mean spiritually. He has spared no spiritual blessing for you. There is nothing you could do to get rid of your sin. There is nothing that you had to offer God to force Him to forgive you. And God, out of His own love, as your Father, sent His Son to die on the cross to save your soul and to wash away your sin. I can sit up here and we can talk about that for years, and we may never understand why, except it's the love of God. God loves you that much. Don't leave here without having that kind of relationship with God. I don't know what your relationship with your earthly father is like. Don't leave without having relationship with your heavenly Father. Don't leave without knowing that is a God who loves me. That is my God who cares for me. That is my God who saved me from my sin. That is my God who gave me the gift of eternal life. That is my eternal Father. I will be in His presence forever.